Okay, I'm going to get started by welcoming everyone. Welcome to What Tung You. Nice to see all of you guys here. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. Today is what we call our Pali Canon and English study group, which I'll explain to you guys what that is a bit later. We start our classes with meditation because this individual who we refer to as the Buddha figured out over 2,500 years ago how to get to the point where the mind is enlightened. What enlightenment is where your mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. By the time you get to enlightenment, you'll no longer experience any discontent feelings. You won't experience any anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. You can eliminate all of this through training the mind. Meditation is an important part of that, but you would need to know more than just meditation. So that's why after our meditation, I'm going to share some teachings with you about the teachings of the Buddha, helping you to understand what he taught to be able to train your mind to get to this enlightened mental state. So welcome to all of you guys here. Welcome to everyone joining online as well. If you'd like to join for meditation, the way that I start this is with some chanting to be able to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. If you'd like to see these chants, you can join along. They're over there on the cabinet. You're welcome to help yourself and get one of the laminated sheets. You'll see the chants there, and these are used as a way today to ease the mind into meditation and get more benefit out of the meditation itself. Where during the lifetime of the Buddha, he used chanting as a learning tool, or as a learning device. So there's no rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, or prayer in the teachings of the Buddha. If you've been exposed to those kinds of things, they're not actually the teachings of the Buddha. The origins of chanting came as a learning tool, as a learning device, because the ability to write things down didn't exist during the lifetime of the Buddha. So he used chanting or recitation of the teachings in order to help his students commit the teachings to memory, so that every 2 weeks they would come together and recite the teachings, and this helped them to then be able to practice the teachings and be able to train their mind to get to enlightenment. If you end up getting one of these sheets, you're going to see a lot of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for the Buddha. And because of this, I don't think the Buddha even created these chants, because the Buddha wouldn't have walked around and said, here, chant these chants to me out of respect for me, because this would be the ego where you're putting yourself above people and looking down on someone. So by the time you get to enlightenment, you don't have ego. You just think of everybody as being equal and as the same. But if you learn from a teacher how to move from anger, sadness, frustration, and all these other discontent feelings, and this teacher didn't want anything or expect anything from you, you might actually have a lot of respect and gratitude for this person too. So that's why I think these chants were created by his students, either during his life or after his death. After the chanting, I'm going to come in with some guidance where I'll be guiding you in the meditation, essentially be teaching you and instructing you how to meditate while we're actually meditating together. Then there's going to be a brief period of time. Actually, there's going to be the long period of time. We're not doing loving kindness today. This is another meditation. Today, we're doing breathing mindfulness meditation, where we're going to have this period of time of quietness, where we're all meditating. Everybody here at the temple and everybody online who's meditating will just be meditating at the same time. Now, during this period of time of quietness, you're probably going to hear occasional sounds. You might hear a car go by, a dog barking, a bird chirping, someone here might cough or sneeze or something like this. This is all normal. If you're in meditation, craving permanent silence, when you hear a sound, you will cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated. Oftentimes people think that these feelings like anger and frustration is coming from something external, but it's actually coming from what's going on in your own mind. What the unenlightened mind does is it craves permanence, but you live in an impermanent world. So things around you are going to be constantly changing. So if you're in meditation, craving permanent silence, when you hear a sound, you'll cause your mind to be annoyed or frustrated because the world isn't permanent. The world is impermanent. It's constantly changing. So these sounds that you hear, they're going to arise, they're going to change, and then they're going to fade away. And if you understand that when you're in meditation, you can be at ease, because when you hear a sound, you just understand the world's working the way it was intended to work. So there'll be different sounds, I'm sure, during the meditation. Then we'll come out of the meditation with some more chanting, and then that's where I'll start today's class, helping you guys to understand the teachings of the Buddha. In terms of your body position for meditation, there's 4 positions that the Buddha taught: seated, lying, standing, and walking. And you would learn these different positions at different times as part of your journey to enlightenment. enlightenment is kind of like having a tool belt and using these different tools that you need at different times in order to be able to train your mind. Oftentimes, students are learning in the seated position, so I'll give you guys some guidance on that just to help you find something that's maybe a bit more comfortable for you than the way you're already sitting, because you would like the body to be comfortable, not painful and not luxurious, but in the middle where it's comfortable. So you could be sitting on the floor, in a chair. If you're at home, maybe you're on a bench or a sofa or in a wheelchair, you can sit however you like. What I'm going to share with you are just suggestions or recommendations that you might consider. And you could use something that I'm teaching, or you could come up with something on your own. It's really up to you to figure out what's comfortable for you, because not everybody's going to sit in exactly the same position, because that would be permanence. And we live in an impermanent world where different people will find different things to be comfortable. So if you're on the floor, you might have some cushions under your rear. This will kind of help soften your seat a bit. And if you're going to bring your legs together in the cross leg position, you might just choose to do that lightly. Whereas if they're real tight, this can impede the circulation in the lower body and cause pain. Some people like to put their legs off the mat. This gets your hips up in the air, and it lessens the angle at the hips, the knees, and the ankles, allowing the circulation to flow. The Buddha put his right hand over his left with his thumbs together, and he put this into his lap. If this is comfortable, you could use it, but it's not about everyone doing it exactly the same way. There's other options here as well. Some people like to put their palms on their thighs or their knees. Some people put their palms up, or you might just rest your hands comfortably in your lap. So you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. And then the same thing's true for anybody who's in a chair or on a bench or a sofa or a wheelchair. You can sit however you like too. Some people like to put their feet flat on the floor or lightly cross at the ankles, but you can see me sitting here in a chair with my legs crossed, so this is an option as well. And then you can put your hands and arms wherever you like. In terms of your upper body, it's helpful if this is erect. With the sternum up and the shoulders back, that'll help you to keep your mind attentive and alert during the meditation. What meditation is a dedicated, active, purposeful training session where you're eliminating certain unwholesome qualities from the mind and you're cultivating certain wholesome qualities in the mind. So you'd like the mind to be attentive and alert during the meditation. Whereas if you were slouched like this, the mind would have a tendency to be dull or lethargic. But if you were real rigid, your mind could be overactive or uptight. So you'd like the upper body to be in the middle with the sternum up and the shoulders back, because not only will it keep the mind attentive and alert, but it'll make it easy for you to breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. So again, I'm going to do some chanting, which you guys are welcome to join in on, and then I'll come back in with some guidance to help you afterwards. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakeva Bhutang Mahakevanhang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakevata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakevato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Rasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso emakeva Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vichacharanang sammuno Sakato rokawitu Anutero purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusarang Poto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath, either the sound of the breath as it enters the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธมะคะวาพุทธังมะคะวันหังอภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนมหะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสมะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดัมมาสติสัตตาตาวามนุสนังพุทโธภาควาติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, good morning to all of you guys. Nice to see everyone here. Welcome to everyone joining online as well. This meditation is called Breathing Mindfulness Meditation. This is a primary form of training that the Buddha used in addition to other things in order to be able to get his mind to the point of enlightenment. Oftentimes people think the Buddha sat under a tree, he meditated, and then instantly got to enlightenment. This isn't actually true. It was gradual training, gradual practice, and gradual progress that helped him to be able to get to enlightenment. He talks about it in his teachings about how that's the case. So there's much more than just meditation that you would need in order to be able to move your mind to enlightenment. Once again, what enlightenment is where your mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. Because when you're angry, when you're frustrated, when you're feeling guilt and shame and fear and stress and anxiety, your mind's all shaken up and you can't make wise decisions. Whatever decisions you make in your day-to-day life, it's going to produce certain results for you. And when your mind is all shaken up and you're making unwise decisions, it's going to produce unwholesome results for you. But if your mind can be calm and focused and concentrated and you making decisions, you'll be making wise decisions. And then that'll produce wholesome results for you. So by the time you get to enlightenment, you won't experience anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this is eliminated from the mind by training the mind. You'll notice that by the time you get to enlightenment, you have focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory, because your mind will be performing optimally. The Buddha figured out that there's these individual pollutions that are in the mind, and when you uproot those pollutions and get them out of the mind will perform optimally, where you have focus, concentration, clarity, and deep memory. But in the unenlightened state, you'll actually lack those qualities. By the time you get to enlightenment, all your personal and professional relationships will really be blossoming. You don't have bitterness and harshness and hostility in your mind anymore. In the unenlightened state, when you're experiencing bitterness and harshness, you might actually think it's other people that are causing that, but it's actually coming from your own mind. Your own mind is producing that. It's impossible for somebody to insert a feeling into your mind. It's actually coming from your mind itself. But you can train your mind to not do this, where you can be loving and kind and warm and gentle to the people around you. And now, because of that, you'll see your relationships really improve. You'll have harmonious relationships with everyone around you. Oftentimes, people think the way to improve their relationships is to change the other person. But in order for you to experience improved relationships, you're going to need to change your own mind. And that's what the teachings of the Buddha are helping you to do, is walk through this transformation of your mind and purification of the mind. By the time you get to enlightenment, it'll be impossible for you to even have a bad mood. That it's physically impossible. You just can't even have a bad mood by the time you get to enlightenment. So there's various training and teachings that you need to be able to help you to get to this. And I have various programs here to help students to be able to do that. And you can learn here at the temple, or you can learn online as you travel around, because we live stream all of our classes and we record them. So you can get books, audiobooks, videos, podcasts, all this stuff, even classes, courses, retreats, personal guidance. It's all available for you at no cost. There's never a time where anybody's going to ask you for anything or expect anything of you. It's just to help you to be able to understand this path, to be able to train your mind to get to this enlightened mental state. So on Sundays and Wednesdays, I have a program called the Group Learning Program. That's a great place for people to start. What I do is, in this first book of our book series, I go chapter by chapter every Sunday. This Sunday, we're going to be in chapter 20, which is titled Animal to Human, the evolution of our consciousness. This helps you to be able to see how your consciousness has been evolving through multiple existences. So you're welcome to attend that tomorrow, either 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. And then we have various courses and retreats and things like that all throughout the week and throughout the month. You can find all these details on our bulletin board over there or on our website. On Saturday is what we do. It's called our Pali Canon and English Study Group. What the Pali Canon is the original teachings of the Buddha are in what's called the Pali Canon. This is 45 books that are about this thick. And these 45 books that comprise the Pali Canon, this is the largest, most complete collection that we have of the teachings of the Buddha. So if you're interested in training your mind to be able to get to enlightenment, you would like to study the Pali Canon. But 45 books is quite a lot of content to be able to study. So what our community has done is we've actually consolidated it into 13 books. So on Saturdays, what we do is we study volumes 2 through 13 of our book series. And what I do is I have these chapters here, which are the original words of the Buddha. So this is chapter 32 from volume 5, because we're in volume 5 now. And what a student will do is they'll read this chapter. You can see it's not even a page. And this is the original words of the Buddha that he spoke. And after somebody reads that either here or online, then I'll share some teachings on this to help you understand how this connects to all of his other teachings. And then I'm going to open up for any questions that you guys have. And we'll just go through a couple of chapters here to help you guys to be able to see what the Buddha taught. This isn't where someone would normally start their journey on the path to enlightenment, is studying here in this particular program. But if this is your first time here, it's okay. You'll learn plenty today. Most of the time, students will have already developed a foundation before they come into a program like this. So if you would like to either read or ask a question here at the temple, we have microphones in the white bowl there in the center of the room. We also have some up here in the front as well. If you could just get a microphone, take it back to your seat, press the gray button, you'll see the lights come on, and just hold this up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. If you speak here without a microphone, they won't be able to hear you online. And then you can keep these microphones with you, because you might have more than one question, or someone around you might have a question, and you can just share the microphone with them. And if you're not using it, if you could turn it off, that'll be helpful so we don't get feedback through the speakers. And then anybody who's online, if you'd like to ask questions, you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom in the comment section. I'll be able to see that. Or in Zoom, if you'd like to either ask a question or volunteer to read, you can electronically raise your hand, unmute your microphone, and then ask any and all questions that you like. So I'll show you guys how this goes. Is there anybody who would like to read this very first chapter? Rachel? Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
The little bit of soil in the fingernail. Monks, what do you think which is more, the little bit of soil that I have taken up in my fingernail, or this great earth? Venerable sir, the great earth is more. The little bit of soil that the perfectly enlightened one has taken up in his fingernail is insignificant compared to the great earth that that little bit of soil is not calculable, does not bear comparison, does not amount to even a fraction. So too, monks, for a noble disciple, a person accomplished in view who has made the breakthrough, the discontentedness that has been destroyed and eliminated is more, while that which remains is insignificant. Compared to the former mass of discontentedness that has been destroyed and eliminated, the latter is not calculable, does not bear comparison, does not amount even to a fraction, as there is a maximum of 7 more lives. He is one who understands as it really is. This is discontentedness. This is the cause of discontentedness. This is the elimination of discontentedness. This is the way leading to the elimination of discontentedness. Therefore, monks, an effort should be made to understand this is discontentedness. An effort should be made to understand this is the cause of discontentedness. An effort should be made to understand this is the elimination of discontentedness. An effort should be made to understand this is the way leading to the elimination of discontentedness.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So here the Buddha is giving a little analogy to help people to understand what he's actually teaching and something about the path to enlightenment. So here he's talking about this individual that is a noble disciple. A noble disciple is someone who's practicing the teachings of the Buddha very closely. That's the way we would refer to it today. But during the lifetime of the Buddha, he referred to this person as a noble disciple because during his lifetime, there was a very strong caste system in place. There were people who were very rich and very affluent, and they were thought to be very smart and very intelligent, and they were going to have a great life. And if you were born into a family that lacked resources, maybe that didn't have the riches, they would be considered to be very low in life and very, not intelligent and not influential in the community. And the Buddha was teaching that this isn't true, that it doesn't matter where you're born, whether you're born in a rich family or you're born in a poor family, that you can be a wonderful person. You can be a great person. It's just about training your mind and cultivating wisdom. So no matter who you were, when you came to study with the Buddha, as you were learning and growing and developing and cultivating more and more wisdom, he would refer to you as a noble disciple because they would refer to these rich, affluent people as nobles. So he would refer to his students that were studying closely as noble disciples, whether they were from a family that lacked resources or a rich, affluent family, they were all treated the same. So if somebody cultivated wisdom, he said this person is noble because they were actually making wise decisions about how to conduct themselves in the world. It's not about where you're born and what family you're born into. It's about how you choose to conduct yourself around other people, having wisdom to be able to interact with people harmoniously. So here he's saying, what is more, this little bit of soil in his fingernail or the great earth? And of course, his students say, oh, well, the great earth is way more than that little bit of soil that you've taken up in your fingernail. And he says, so too, this noble disciple, this person who's practicing his teachings closely, a person accomplished in view, this is a person who's developed their practice to a certain point, they've made a breakthrough that they understand this discontentedness, that this discontentedness has been destroyed and more of it has been destroyed and eliminated than continues to remain. So a person who's a noble disciple, they haven't yet gotten to enlightenment, so they're still going to be experiencing some discontentedness. So what he's talking about here is somebody who's in the first stage of enlightenment. And he's saying this person, the amount of discontentedness that they have still remaining in their mind is insignificant compared to what they had when they were once off the path to enlightenment. Because when you're off the path to enlightenment, you'll have anger and stress and anxiety and all these other feelings. But as you're training your mind and you're getting to this first stage of enlightenment, then your mind is actually significantly reduced the discontentedness. There's 4 individual stages to enlightenment. Your mind is actually enlightened when you get to the 4th stage. That's where you don't experience any discontentedness whatsoever. The mind no longer experiences anger and sadness and all these other discontent feelings. It's physically impossible for you to experience that. So he's saying this person who's gotten to this certain point in their development, which I know to be the first stage of enlightenment based on the things he's talking about here, he's saying there's very minimal discontentedness still in the mind compared to what was once in the mind. And the reason why is because of here. He's talking about that this person would understand this is discontentedness. This is the cause, the elimination, and the way leading to the elimination of discontentedness. What this is his very first teaching. It's called the Four Noble Truths. In 4 simple statements, not these 4, but 4 simple statements, he helps you to understand what is the problem in the mind, which is discontentedness, the anger, the sadness, the frustration, the mind going up and down and up and down. That's the problem that every unenlightened being is experiencing. The cause of that discontentedness is craving, desire, attachment. The mind's longing, yearning. It's chasing after the objects of its affection. The mind can crave permanence, and it can only be happy when it gets what it wants and what it expects. But when you don't get what you want, you experience anger, sadness, or frustration. So, for example, if you look outside and it's sunny outside, and you get really happy and excited about it being sunny, that's because you have a craving. You have a longing, yearning for it to be sunny. And now you get conditioned, pleasant feelings like happiness or excitement. But the problem with that is that your happiness is based on something that is not permanent. The sun is not permanent. So as soon as you base your happiness on the sun, that means when it changes to rain, you'll be sad or frustrated or annoyed or some other discontent feeling. Or if you get really happy when your bank account balance is up here, then that means when it changes and it goes down here, you'll be sad or frustrated. This is the unenlightened mind experiencing conditioned feelings based on craving, desire, attachment. The mind's longing, yearning, and craving permanence. As I've shared, people firmly believe that their feelings are being caused by something external. But you can see in these 2 examples, there's no other person that's actually involved here. All it is changing from the sun to the rain. All you've experienced here is change. When your bank account balance goes from here to here, all you've experienced is change. But the mind craves permanence in the unenlightened state. It doesn't understand that the world around you is constantly changing. So, for example, if you've had a relationship where you've come together with someone, when you guys got together, you were probably so happy and so excited, like a boyfriend or girlfriend or something like this, maybe a husband or a wife. You were so happy and so excited. But over time, the relationship deteriorated and you guys broke up. And when you broke up, you might have been angry or sad or frustrated or lonely or bored or missing this person. It wasn't your love that was causing this. This was the mind craving permanence, holding on and craving and longing, yearning for this relationship to be permanent, when in reality, this relationship was always impermanent. This is why the mind grieves and has sorrow when someone close to you dies. If someone close to you dies, like mom or dad, brothers or sisters, or your friends or family, you're not a bad person. You haven't done anything wrong. It's just that the mind craves permanence in the unenlightened state. And mom and dad aren't going to be permanent. Grandma and grandpa aren't going to be permanent. These people are born, so they all have to die. Every single one of us, we're going to experience death at some point. But the mind holds on and it craves permanence. And it can only be happy when it gets what it wants. So when mom and dad or grandma and grandpa are alive, you get really happy. You're happy about that. But when the mind doesn't get what it wants, when it's experiencing the death of this individual, that's where the mind might grieve or have sorrow or sadness. So the cause of discontentedness is the mind's craving, its longing, its yearning, its expecting and wanting things to be a certain way. And it can only be happy if it gets what it wants. This is why when we were a child, we were really happy when we got chocolate and ice cream. So happy. But then at some point, mom and dad said, no, you can't have chocolate and ice cream. And that's where we got angry. We got mad. We got frustrated. We thought that mom and dad were causing us to be angry and frustrated. But in reality is what's going on in your own mind, that the mind was craving this chocolate and ice cream. And you could only be happy if you got what you want or what you expected. So by understanding the cause of your discontentedness, which is the second noble truth, you can then start to work on eliminating it, because that's what the third noble truth explains to you. The third noble truth explains that you can eliminate your discontentedness by eliminating the craving, the longing, the yearning, the chasing after the objects of your affection. If you're chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing, and you can only be happy if you get what you want, Well, you live in an impermanent world. You're not going to always get what you want. So you need to learn how to come to the middle where you can gradually pursue your goals, objectives, or interests through wise decision making. Because sometimes when I share with people about the third noble truth that you need to eliminate your craving, desire, attachment, they oftentimes think, well, if I'm not chasing after the objects of my affection, then won't I swing all the way to the other side where I'm dull and lethargic and lazy? You might, but that's not what the Buddha is teaching you. The Buddha is teaching you to come to the middle where you can gradually pursue your goals, objectives, or interests through wise decision making. But the mind doesn't know how to do that. And it honestly doesn't want to do that. It's actually chasing after these pleasant feelings. It wants to get that happiness and excitement. So it chases after it. But it can only experience that if it gets what it wants. And then if it's not doing that, it'll tend to swing to the other side where it's dull and lethargic. So what the Buddha is teaching you how to do is not to have this conditional happiness where you can only be happy if certain conditions are met. He's teaching you how to be happy all the time, where you can have unconditional happiness, where there doesn't need to be any condition met in order for the mind to experience happiness. So you need to eliminate this chasing and forming your feelings based on whether you get what you want or not. And the way that you do that is in the fourth noble truth. The way leading to the elimination of discontentedness is the Eightfold Path. This is the complete perfect plan that a person would learn in order to be able to train their mind to get to enlightenment. And that's part of the foundational teachings that oftentimes people have already learned before they come into a program like this. I teach this multiple times a month where I walk students through over a 2.5-hour period where I slowly help you to understand the Eightfold Path. This is the complete perfect plan of how to train your mind to be able to get to enlightenment. So you would need to learn this and practice it closely, and that's what's going to actually transform your mind to be able to get to enlightenment. So this is why the Buddha is making this recommendation here where he's saying an effort should be made to understand this is discontentedness, the cause, the elimination, and the path forward. Because if you have this breakthrough to understanding the Four Noble Truths, you'll be able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. If you continue to go around the world believing that it's other people that are causing these feelings, you'll never fix it. You'll continue to be angry and frustrated the rest of your life. Because when you think that other people are causing your feelings, what you'll tend to do is you'll tend to push people away, or you'll push the situation away. You might have pushed away friends or family out of your life, thinking that they were causing your problems and they were causing your anger, so you might have pushed them away. Or you might have been bitter and harsh and hostile to them. This is the second thing that the mind will do when it doesn't understand that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. And you'll damage your relationships by being bitter and harsh and hostile to people. Or the third thing you'll do is you'll tend to put expectations on people and try to pressure them to do things your way. And people might be doing this to you too, where they're pushing you away. They're being bitter, harsh, and hostile to you. And they're putting expectations on you and trying to pressure you to do things their way. But this is the mind just trying to get its cravings fulfilled, because the mind has this idea of this is how the world should work. And if people don't do things your way, you'll tend to push them away. You'll be bitter, harsh, and hostile to them in order to try to get them to do it your way, or you'll put expectations on them to try to get them to do it your way. This is the mind craving permanence, not understanding that the world is full of impermanence. So there's a better way of life here that the Buddha taught, that you can train your mind to be harmonious with all people, understanding these natural laws that the Buddha taught. They're not based in belief, so you're not believing any of his teachings. You're learning, examining, and investigating his teachings. You're reflecting on them to verify if they're true or they're false. And then you're practicing his teachings, integrating them into your day-to-day life in order to be able to train your mind. And what you'll notice is you'll slowly see your mind moving closer and closer to this peaceful and joyful mental state as you're making progress on the path. Because you understand when you get angry and frustrated, there are certain situations where you get angry and frustrated. That's triggering your cravings, desires, attachments within your own mind. And when you're in those same situations and you've gotten rid of those cravings, and now you don't get angry and frustrated anymore, you'll know that it's these teachings that are helping you. So the Buddha is just bringing his attention to his students that, hey, if you get to this first stage of enlightenment, if you make an effort to learn and practice this very first teaching of the Four Noble Truths to get started on the path, eventually you're going to get to this point where your mind is experiencing very insignificant amount of discontentedness. That's the first stage of enlightenment. But then as you continue to progress and you get to the fourth stage of enlightenment, where your mind's actually enlightened, you won't experience any discontentedness whatsoever. And that's what we would refer to as an enlightened being. So do you guys have questions on this chapter here? Anything you guys would like to ask? Remember, you guys have the microphones here, and then online you can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, or raise your hand in Zoom and ask questions that way. No questions? Okay, I don't see any questions here either. Okay, so what you guys have here in these books, which, by the way, you can get them at no cost. You can download them from our website. You can take them and go print it. You can get them on Amazon, if you like, by purchasing them there, or you can get them here by just reimbursing us for the printing cost, and we'll be able to go purchase some more books. You have the words of the Buddha here, which is what he taught during his lifetime. You have a reference which takes you back to the Pali Canon, so you can see from the original text, where did this come from? And then you've got words from me that are helping you to integrate this into your day-to-day life and understanding how to get benefit out of this particular teaching. So each one of these chapters are set up that way. So this is chapter 33. Is there someone who would like to read this one? Okay, Rachel again. Just a different Rachel.
The achievement of other communities cannot compare with the achievement of a noble disciple. Monks, suppose that a man would place on Sinaru, the king of mountains, 7 grains of gravel the size of mung beans. What do you think, monks, which is more, the 7 grains of gravel the size of mung beans that have been placed there, or Sinaru, the king of mountains? Venerable Sir, Sinaru, the king of mountains, is more. The 7 grains of gravel the size of mung beans are insignificant. They do not amount to 100th part, or 1,000th part, or 100,000th part of Sinaru, the king of mountains. So too, monks, the achievements of ascetics, Brahmins, and wanderers of other communities do not amount to 100th part, or 1,000th part, or 100,000th part of the achievement of a noble disciple, a person accomplished in view who has made the breakthrough. So great an achievement, monks, is a person accomplished in view. So great is direct knowledge, experience.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. So again, you guys are familiar with what a noble disciple is now. This is someone who's been studying the teachings of the Buddha very closely. So we refer to them as a noble disciple. He's giving once again an analogy where he's talking about this king of the mountains and these 7 grains of gravel. And he's talking about this accomplishment of this individual who's a noble disciple. And he's saying, this accomplishments of a noble disciple is much more significant than an achievement of any ascetic or Brahmin wonders of other communities. You might think that during the lifetime of a Buddha, that he's the only one teaching, right? Because if you lived during the lifetime of a Buddha, you'd probably be interested in learning from an actual Buddha. But during the lifetime of a Buddha, there's going to be multiple people who are teaching. It's not just the Buddha, because not everybody knows who a Buddha is during the lifetime of a Buddha. A Buddha doesn't go around and perform countless miracles in order to convince people that they're actually a Buddha. Instead, they just share their teachings, and their teachings are independently verifiable, and people can actually independently verify what they're teaching, and they can actually train their mind to be able to get to enlightenment. But not everybody takes their time to be able to study with an actual person who is a Buddha, because that Buddha is not going out on the street claiming that they're a Buddha. Instead, they're just sharing their teachings. So there were multiple people that were teaching during the lifetime of the Buddha, not just him. But the Buddha knew that it was his teachings that led to enlightenment. So he continued to stay dedicated and diligent to be able to continue to share his teachings. And more people were getting to enlightenment during his lifetime. But there were other people in other communities who were, exploring different teachings that those teachers were teaching, but they weren't teaching the actual teachings that it took to be able to lead to enlightenment. So the Buddha here is saying people that are studying and have gotten to this breakthrough and are accomplished in view. This breakthrough that he's talking about is a breakthrough to the Four Noble Truths. When you learn the Four Noble Truths and you independently verify them, you can break through to be able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. Again, if you keep believing that it's other people that are causing these feelings, feelings, you'll never actually fix it because you'll just keep pushing people away, being bitter, harsh, and hostile to them, or putting expectations on them. But when you start focusing on your own mind and training your own mind, you'll actually see real progress to the condition of your mind in your life, because your personal and professional relationships will just slowly start to blossom, and you'll see more and more improvement in your life. So someone who's accomplished in view and who has made this breakthrough to being able to understand the Four Noble Truths, they're going to be making progress to developing their life, because that's what the teachings of the Buddha are, is this inner work, this inner growth, this inner development, this self-help program. It's not a bunch of rules and commandments to follow. It's not rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer, and things like that. The Buddha didn't teach any of those things. If you're seeing those things associated with his teachings, he didn't actually teach those things. Those are misunderstandings that people are having. So by someone making a breakthrough and getting to the point where they understand the Four Noble Truths, they're going to be doing the real work to be able to improve the condition of their mind in their life, and they're going to experience a significant amount more progress than someone else who hasn't had that breakthrough, that is maybe from another community. So that's what the Buddha is talking about here, that they would have accomplished such great direct knowledge. This is what all the teachings of the Buddha are based in, is you experiencing the teachings. It's not based in belief, it's based in you cultivating wisdom. That's what's actually going to lead to your improvement. It doesn't matter how much water I sprinkle on you, how many strings I tie on your wrist, or how many other rituals and ceremonies people might do. That's never going to lead to improvement in your life, because it doesn't help you to cultivate wisdom. If you're having difficulties in your relationships with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, you're going to need wisdom of how to improve that through training your own mind. If you're having difficulties in your career or your profession, there's no amount of rituals or ceremonies that are going to make that better for you. You're going to need to cultivate wisdom and make better decisions. That's what's going to lead to improvement in your life. So there's this inner work, this inner growth, this inner development that you're going to need to do. You can't believe your way to a better life. It's not possible. So the teachings of the Buddha aren't about believing a bunch of things and then hoping something good happens when you die. It's about learning, growing, and developing in this life and getting to an ideal life and a wonderful life now in this life. And he'll guide you in how to do that through learning his teachings. And that's where somebody will have this direct knowledge or experience of this inner growth and this inner development as they're cultivating wisdom, making better decisions, and now they'll experience improved results in their life. So any questions on this chapter here? Anything you guys would like to ask? Oh, we have a question coming in on Zoom. This is from Calvin. He's asking, he says, "Teacher, how long does it take you to reset your mind knowingly? We have trained our worldly mind different for the last 30 or 40 years. Thank you. Calvin, everybody is different because everybody comes to the path with a different amount of pollution in their mind. These 10 fetters that the Buddha taught, everybody has a different quantity of that in their mind. And then each person who comes to the path, there's going to be a different level of dedication and determination and diligence from each person. So it really depends on the level of pollution that you have prior to coming to the path and how dedicated are you to being able to actually train your mind while you're actually learning and growing and developing on the path. So there's no set amount of time that somebody could say, you will get to enlightenment in X amount of time. It took the Buddha 6 years to get to enlightenment. So I share that with you so that you understand it's going to take you some time. This isn't a 1 month thing. It's not a 1 week thing. It's not a 1 year thing. You need to be dedicated to this inner growth and this inner development over a consistent long-term period. But the beauty about this is that it's a permanent solution, that once you get to enlightenment, your mind will never again experience any discontentedness. So normally when you climb a mountain, you'll get to the top and you'll see a beautiful view and you'll have a fresh air that you breathe in and it's like, oh, wow, this is so great. But you've got to come back down the mountain, right? You don't get to sit up there and enjoy that for the rest of your life. But the thing about this path to enlightenment is while there's challenges along the way to be able to get to enlightenment, it's a permanent mental state. By the time you get to enlightenment, you get to enjoy that mental state for the rest of your life. So it's like climbing a mountain and getting to enjoy the view and the fresh air for the rest of your life. So I couldn't tell you how long it's going to take each individual person. Everybody is a bit different, but you'll see progress all the way along the way. It's not like the Buddha trained his mind for 6 years, and then he instantly got to a point where it was transformed. So there's been students that have come here and they've been studying like in a 5-day course with me, and they come in on the third day after only studying 2 days, and they come in on the third day and say, you know, David, I just got an email this morning that I would have normally had all these discontent feelings like guilt and shame and all this other stuff. But I didn't experience that because I understood that this was just impermanence. This was actually a teacher who teaches online, and one of their students actually canceled and decided to no longer study with them. And they said normally when they got an email like that, they would feel so guilty and shameful. They would be worried about what it is that they did that caused this student to cancel. But they understood it was just impermanence, that of course there's going to be some students who learn with you and they're going to learn with you for a period of time, but then there's going to be some who decide to no longer study with you. They're going to come and go. This is impermanence. So this person was able, after just 2 days, to be peaceful in that situation. So you'll see progress all the way through your journey. Not everybody sees progress in 2 days, but this person was able to do that. So you'll see that everybody's a little bit different, but it really comes down to how much pollution you have in your mind when you come to the path and how dedicated you are once you're on the path to be able to train your mind of how long it's going to take you to get to enlightenment. Okay, I don't see any other questions anywhere. Oh, we have a question? Yeah, please.
With the Four Noble Truths, this being has verified that I have an understanding of the Four Noble Truths. When one has done a lot more work with the Eightfold Path and is uprooting discontentedness, looking back at the Four Noble Truths, is it different? Is there more depth to it?
It just helps you to reconfirm each time you learn it, each time you see it. It just helps you like, yep, that's true. Where initially when you learn the Four Noble Truths, you're like, hold on a second. My mind causes my own anger and frustration, because we grow up all through our life thinking that it's other people, right? Because oftentimes our parents will blame us for their anger and frustration, and they think we're the ones who are causing them to be angry and frustrated. So we grow up thinking that it's other people who causes our anger. Maybe our teachers going to school, our teachers might blame us for their anger and frustration, our coaches and stuff like this. So we hear this from so many people. So when you first learn the Four Noble Truths the first time, sometimes it's like, I don't really know. I'm not sure. But when you penetrate into it, when I walk students through, it takes me about 45 minutes to really teach the Four Noble Truths. When I walk students through and they really give it thought, then they penetrate into it. That's what the Buddha talks about. You have a breakthrough, and now you're like, oh my gosh, that is true. So every single time you've ever been angry your entire life, it's always been your mind the entire time. It's not about guilt or shame. It's not about blame or fault. And it doesn't mean that the other person was doing something wise, because they very well could have been doing something unwise. But the fact is that it's your own mind craving permanence, wanting everybody to do it this way. And you could only be happy if someone did it this way. So it's really hard for the mind in the unenlightened state to be willing to look at this, because the mind's ego will think that I'm right and everyone else is wrong. Everyone else is the problem. But when you really peer into this, you can really see that it's your own mind. And then when you look back at the Four Noble Truths, you just reconfirm for yourself, yep, that's true, because you learn it, but then you need to be able to look at it, right? So let me give you guys some more examples. And I know you've heard these before, right? It's like, say you show up to the airport and you're so excited to go to a trip, maybe come to Thailand. You're so excited. You can't wait to get here. They have mango and sticky rice. They have elephants to play with. They have massages. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get there. And you've got like 1 hour before your departure. And you go to check in at the airport. And when you go to check in, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, sir. I'm sorry, ma'am. You can't check in yet. Your flight's not leaving for 3 hours. And you thought you were leaving in about an hour. Right? And you notice this anger and frustration coming up. It's not the airline company who's causing that. That's your own mind. You're craving for every airplane to take off on time. This is the mind's craving for permanence, where there's going to be weather issues, maintenance issues, crew issues. If you travel enough, you're going to meet with delays. But the mind's craving to get to that mango and sticky rice and those massages and those elephants. And I want to get on that plane and go to Thailand, right? The mind will be so excited about this, and it can only be happy if it gets what it wants. Or say you get a brand new car. You get this brand new car and you drive it to the store. You're so happy with your brand new car. You park it at the store. You go inside and you come out and there's a scratch on your car. You might be angry or frustrated. It's not the scratch that's causing that. And it's not the person who scratched your car. It's the mind's craving for permanence. Again, we're not talking about what's wise or unwise, because when we walk through a parking lot, we aspire not to scratch anybody's car. But the fact is that this car is going to get a scratch. It's only a matter of time, right? That this car, the paint's going to fade, the tires are going to need to be changed, the upholstery is going to get ripped and torn. It's only a matter of time. But if you crave for this car to be permanently beautiful, when it starts changing, you will be angry or upset or frustrated. So the only thing you're experiencing is change. But because the mind craves permanence, it gets angry and frustrated because it's not getting what it wants. So the more you look at the Four Noble Truths, you just see how true they are, and you have this breakthrough, and life gets so much better for you. But as long as you stay stuck in the darkness, so to speak, thinking that it's other people causing these feelings, life can feel miserable sometimes, and you really struggle because you don't understand what's really causing your own anger, and the mind just blames everybody else, and now it just struggles. So the more you awaken to this wisdom, the more life just gets so much better. Mm-hmm. All right. I don't see any other questions here. Okay. So let's maybe go to one more, and then we'll just kind of end for the day. Let's see what this next chapter is. Let's see. Let me see what the next one is after this. Sometimes in this class, I kind of skip around a little bit. Let's see. No, I think we'll do that one. Okay. Is there anyone who would like to read this next chapter? It's also a short one. Chapter 34. No? We can end class here too. You would like to read it? Okay.
A noble one with developed sense bases. And how Ananda is one, a noble one with developed sense bases. Hear, Ananda, when a monk sees a form with the eye, hears a sound with the ear, smells an odour with the nose, tastes a flavour with the tongue, touches a physical object with the body, recognises a mental object with the mind, there arises in him what is agreeable, there arises what is disagreeable, there arises what is both agreeable and disagreeable. If he should aspire, may I reside perceiving the unrepulsive in the repulsive, he resides perceiving the unrepulsive in the repulsive. If he should aspire, may I reside perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive, he resides perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive. If he should aspire, may I reside perceiving in the unrepulsive, in the repulsive and the unrepulsive, he resides perceiving the unrepulsive in that. If he should aspire, may I reside perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive and the repulsive, he resides perceiving the repulsive in that. If he should aspire, may I, avoiding both the repulsive and unrepulsive, reside in equanimity, mindful and fully aware, he resides in the equanimity towards that, mindful and fully aware. Ananda, that is how a noble one with developed sense bases.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. All right, so let me explain to you guys what the Buddha is teaching here. So while we call this craving, desire, attachment, where the mind is longing, yearning, and chasing after the objects of its affection, and it can only be happy when it gets what it wants, and then it gets angry and frustrated when it doesn't get what it wants, that's kind of like a really basic way of referring to it. At a more detailed level, as you get deeper into the teachings, you understand that what's really going on is your mind has what's called central desire. Inside your mind, you have this desire for permanently agreeable contact. The way that your mind experiences contact is through the eyes the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, and then the mind itself. You experience some contact with the external world. And with your mind's sensual desire, you will see that contact as being either agreeable or disagreeable. And when it's agreeable, you will get happy and excited about that. But when you experience disagreeable contact, you will get angry or frustrated or sad, because the mind's not getting what it wants. So for example, if you were sitting at a stoplight and someone pulled up to you with some music that you particularly like and that you listen to and you think it's really good music, you hear that sound through your ear and you're like, whoa, that's my jam. All right, let's party. And you start dancing in your seat and having a good time, getting all excited, right? This is because you're hearing something agreeable in your ear. This is a sound, and your mind's central desire sees that as agreeable. But then, because the world is impermanent, it's only a matter of time before somebody pulls up next to you at the next traffic light where there's music that you don't listen to, and you don't particularly care for this music, and your mind's central desire sees this as disagreeable. And now you get frustrated or angry, and the mind thinks that it's the other person who's causing it, or the music, but in reality, it's your central desire in your mind. The mind craves for permanently agreeable contact, right? So you have these 6 sense bases: the eyes, the ears, the nose, the tongue, the body, and then the mind itself. The mind itself is where you think about the past, and maybe there's something pleasurable or painful in the past. And now in the present moment, you're experiencing pleasure or pain in the present moment just based on thinking of something in the past. There hasn't been any contact through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, or the body. It's just something that your mind's thinking about. Some people call this trauma and they think you'll never get over it, but it's not true. It's just that the mind is thinking about something in the past and choosing to form feelings on it today. And the same thing can happen about the future. You can be thinking about the future, like say something pleasurable, like going to Thailand and having mango and sticky rice and getting massages. You can get really excited about that without actually having any contact through any of the other senses. But you can also have painful feelings, like say you have a presentation that you have to do at work, and you're going to give this presentation to your boss's boss, and your boss's boss's boss. And now maybe you're very scared and very fearful about giving that presentation that's going to happen in 2 weeks. There hasn't been any contact through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, or the body. It's just the mind thinking about it. So the mind, because of its central desire, it will see this contact as either agreeable or disagreeable. The Buddha is using that language here. He's also using this language of unrepulsive and repulsive. So what the Buddha is saying is that if you reside seeing the agreeable in the disagreeable, then that's what you'll look at and that's what you'll see. But if you perceive the disagreeable in the agreeable, then that's what you'll see. But if you perceive that something is unrepulsive or disagreeable, then that's what you'll see. And if you, agreeable. If you see something that is disagreeable, then that's what you'll see. Meaning your mind is forming whatever feelings it's feeling based on the way that you see things as either agreeable or disagreeable. This is what your central desire is doing. But if you are training your mind and you think, may I avoid the disagreeable in the agreeable, or here he's using repulsive and unrepulsive, and you reside equanimitous, right? If you have this equanimity, it means you're calm and composed. No matter whether you have agreeable contact or you have disagreeable contact, you can maintain your calmness and composure, right? Instead of walking down the street and you smell the flowers coming out of the flower shop and you're like, wow, that's such a great smell. Oh my gosh, that's amazing, right? That's not equanimitous. That's like bouncing off the walls just because you're smelling this great smell. But the problem with that is you'll walk a few more steps and you'll get a whiff of the sewer. And now you'll be like, oh my gosh, that is so terrible. Who did that? Why don't they cover that up? You'll be angry and frustrated. Instead, you can just be like, that's a really interesting smell coming out of the flower shop. Wow, that's really good. That's amazing. I could sit here and smell that all day. But you understand it's impermanent, right? So you take a couple more steps and now you smell the sewer. Wow, that's pretty ripe. Let me keep walking, right? No need to be angry or frustrated just because you're experiencing impermanence. You're going to experience impermanence all throughout your life. So that's what the Buddha is saying here, is that you can reside equanimitous having this equanimity, and you can be mindful and fully aware of your mind instead of allowing your mind to go up in this really high excited state where it's shaking and is so excited, because then it's going to drop off and it's going to be sad and frustrated. It's only a matter of time. So for example, if you get a new job and you're so excited about that brand new job, it's the perfect company, the perfect salary, the perfect coworkers, everything's wonderful about this job. And you get so excited about this job. Well, you'll be excited and happy as long as you have that job. But 3 years later, when you get laid off or you get fired or the company goes out of business, you'll be sad. You'll be frustrated and angry, right? So if you allow your mind to have conditioned pleasant feelings, the painful ones are waiting for you right around the corner. So you would like your mind to be able to learn how to enjoy something without having conditioned pleasant feelings. That can sound very strange for someone who's new to the path, is the idea of enjoying something without all this conditioned happiness, because that's what you actually enjoy. You enjoy that conditioned happiness, but you can actually train your mind to be able to enjoy everything. Because if you can only enjoy things when they go your way, that means you're very limited. This is why some people are old and grumpy, old and irritable. Not everybody, but some people, right? Because it's like, if my mom and dad does this, if my brothers and sisters do this, if my boss does this, if the weather is this, if I have this much money in my bank account and I have this kind of house and this kind of car, then I'll be happy, right? So your happiness is actually shrinking because you have all these conditions that have to be met in order for you to be happy. So the Buddha is teaching you how to get beyond this, where you can have unconditional happiness, where you can just be happy no matter what's happening in your life. Of course, you're going to make decisions towards improving your life, but you're not basing your happiness on all these conditions, because that means that your happiness is shrinking, because the idea of all those conditions being met is very unlikely. So you'd like to get rid of all that, where you can be happy when it's sunny, but you can also be happy when it's raining, right? You can be happy when your bank account balance is here, but you can also be happy when it's here as well, right? But if you base your happiness on some object, these objects are all impermanent. And that's why you haven't been able to get to permanent happiness, because you're basing your feelings on some object. If I have a boyfriend, if I have a girlfriend, I'm happy. But if I don't have one, I'm going to be frustrated and lonely and bored and angry, right? Your mind's not liberated. You're not free. You can only be happy if these certain conditions are met. So you'd like to be able to get rid of all of that and train your mind to just be happy at all times. And that's what the Buddha is going to teach you how to do. So that's what the Buddha is talking about here, is that if somebody would like to get to this point, this is what a noble one would actually do, is they would develop their sense bases to the point where you don't see things as agreeable and disagreeable, or repulsive and unrepulsive, that it's just contact. That smell, that odor coming out of the flower shop, wonderful. That odor coming out of the sewer, okay, that's a different type of odor. It's just impermanence. That's all it is. Just keep walking, right? That music that you hear, okay, wow, that sounds really great. I enjoy that music. Let me dance to that. Let me have a good time. But then you hear this other kind of music. Okay, that's not my kind of music, but he's having fun. Good for him. Right? And you can just maintain your peace and maintain your joy. But when your mind's not trained, you can't do that, because your mind's going to see things as agreeable and disagreeable. And you're going to get happy and excited when you have agreeable contact, and you'll get angry and frustrated when you have disagreeable contact. So this is like the Buddha giving you an instruction manual to this being who you are. Nobody gave you an instruction manual, right? Everything nowadays has an instruction manual, right? But nobody gave you an instruction manual to how this being works. So he's explaining to you how your mind works based on having contact through your eyes, ears, nose, your tongue, your body, and your mind. And now when you understand how it works and how it's seeing things as agreeable and disagreeable, and it's forming feelings based on this stuff, now you can train it to do something different than that, because that's no fun living life like that. You can train your mind to the point where it doesn't do that anymore. But you need to understand what's happening in the unenlightened state, so that once you understand that, now you can train your mind to do what the Buddha is talking about to get to enlightenment. So any questions here on this chapter? Yeah, Rachel? It's the Rachel show today.
I'm sorry about that. But I'm very interested in this at the moment, because I'm becoming more mindful of these feelings arising, and I'm very sensually. I respond to it, that stimuli. So just before I walked in, I took a photo of the top of the temple there in the blue sky, and I had feelings arising because it was so beautiful. And then I recognized that that's what I was doing from previous lessons. But and I understand that training my mind is important, and I'm doing the meditation, and I can see how that links to these moments of letting go. So what happened in my mind was, I recognized the feelings arising and said to myself, it's just a blue sky in a temple. Is that a helpful process? Is that part of it? Can you give me more advice on that moment?
Yeah, on that moment when you notice the conditioned pleasant feelings arising, you'd like to cut it off and let it go. And this is kind of counterintuitive for most people because you think that those pleasant feelings are what you're going for in life. But if you're not willing to let go of the temporary pleasure, you'll never get to the permanent joy, the permanent happiness. So when you're noticing that your mind's trying to form a conditioned feeling, you've got to cut it off and let it go, whether it's pleasure, pain, or neither painful nor pleasure. And now when you cut that off and let it go, it's restraining the mind and pulling it back, not allowing it to form that feeling. And now over time, you'll be able to enjoy whether the sky's blue or whether the sky's gray or whatever it is, you'll be able to enjoy all of it. But if you can only be happy when the sky is a certain color, then you can't be happy all the time. So when you see your mind trying to form that conditioned feeling, pull it back. Still maybe take the picture and you can enjoy the picture, but just don't allow your mind to go, oh my gosh, it's so blue, it's so beautiful, oh my gosh. I'm sure you weren't doing that, but were you inside? Okay. Yeah, so you're not interested in allowing the mind to do that because it's going to just stay wired that way. So when you come to the middle, sometimes people think that you're just dull and numb. That's not actually true. Your mind is cheerful and bright and glad and uplifted all the time, right? But in the unenlightened state, you can only be happy when the mind's getting what it wants. So you would like to stop your mind from doing that. Okay, so I don't see any other questions anywhere else. So what I'll do is just end class here by thanking all of you guys for joining. Thank you for your interest to learn and understand the teachings of the Buddha. As you guys would like to learn more, there's plenty of opportunities for you guys. Like I mentioned, this isn't where someone will typically start, but I teach it in a way that it applies to everybody. If you would really like to get started on the path to enlightenment, you might decide to get this first book. It's called Developing a Life Practice, The Path That Leads to Enlightenment. You can download it from our website for free. You can take it and go print it. You can get printed versions here by just reimbursing us for the printing costs so we can get more books, or you can order it on Amazon. That's the best place to get started because it's going to help you with all the foundational teachings. And then if you'd like to attend classes online or here or watch the recordings, you can do that week by week, because each Sunday I'm going to teach a chapter from that book. And then slowly but surely, you can gain the wisdom that you need to be able to experience this transformation in your life, to do this inner work where you can heal from what hurt you so that you never need to hurt ever again. So if you'd like to see details on what we offer, it's over there on the bulletin board, or you can check our website, or you can also come talk to me and I'll get you plugged into the resources that you need. So have a very wonderful and lovely rest of your day, whatever you do, and perhaps I might see you in a future class. Be well and take care. Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.